And now it's my pleasure to introduce our great state treasurer, Carrie Kennedy.
For showing your support for the Democratic Party and the work that we are all doing together that makes Colorado such a wonderful place to live. Over the past year, two amazingly talented, caring, and dedicated men have shown us how deeply they care about our state and how deeply they care about us, those of us who call Colorado home. Senator Michael Bennet and Speaker Andrew Romanoff have both worked tirelessly for many, many years to improve opportunities for others. They have selflessly strived to open doors for children who are born into poor and disenfranchised homes, to give them the power of opportunity that all kids deserve. They are both selfless leaders and great men. And like any hard-fought contest between two exceptional opponents, after the 14th inning, after the third overtime, after the last shootout, one emerges the winner. Today we congratulate Senator Michael Bennet. The full support of the Democratic Party and with the full support of thousands of people all across Colorado of every political affiliation, because he has earned it. He has shown us that he has a vision to build a world-class education system, that he will end the partisanship in Washington, that he will work to solve our nation's most pressing problem, including bringing down the national debt, and that he will bring the openness and the transparency and the accountability to Washington that this nation deserves. We are lucky to have Senator Michael Bennet as our candidate representing the Democratic Party and fighting for the people of Colorado. I want to thank you all for being here. We are all going to work together to win in November. We have wonderful candidates up and down the ballot. Thank you very much. It's my privilege now to introduce a great friend and a great Colorado leader, Senator Mark Udall.
It's always a treat to be introduced by a Kennedy, would you agree? Look, I want to keep this short and sweet. I know bloviating is encouraged on the floor of the United States Senate. I guess you could suggest I've taken part in that on an occasion or two, but I'm not the main event here. But I do want to acknowledge our great DNC chair, Governor Tim Kaine, whose leadership has been so steady and thoughtful. And that's quite a contrast to his counterpart at the Republican National Committee. And in turn, I also want to recognize our wonderful state party chair, Pat Walk, whose leadership at the helm of our party has also been steady and thoughtful, and I think you would agree that's quite a contrast with her counterpart at the Republican Party here in Colorado. But I'm not going to get into name calling directed at our Republican friends, because today I'm going to introduce a couple of two young men who've given, can you hear the mic? Can't hear it? Ed, I'll shout, Ed. I'm going to introduce two young men. I want to emphasize young, I want to emphasize talented, who've given a great deal to our party and, more importantly, to public service for Colorado. And I couldn't help but think about a famous speech that Theodore Roosevelt delivered 100 years ago, and I want to share it with you. He said, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, without error and without shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who know neither victory nor defeat. That TR's words might seem a little antique and embroidered in our era of 30-second sound bites, but I believe their eloquence still has power. Roosevelt was telling his audience then and reminding us today that our democracy works because people like Michael Bennet and Andrew Romanoff are willing to get into the arena. Most important, so many of you who will never run for office are also willing to give up your time and your energy and get in the arena. And as rough and tumble as politics can be, and there's plenty of evidence to fuel our cynicism, I also believe there's honor in politics, particularly politics that elevates our public discourse and debate. There is a nobility of purpose in public service. And I'd like to think if Teddy Roosevelt were with us today, he'd still be in the arena, and quite possibly as a Democrat this time around. And I bet he'd also be championing renewable energy, the conservation of our land and our water and our wildlife. And I'm pretty sure he'd be appalled that there's some voices in the party of Lincoln who are talking about repealing the 14th Amendment.